Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 116 of NotaRobot Podcast's DC Comics review show. As always, I have my amazing co-host joining me today, starting with Rob.
Hello, 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 hello.
So cool, he adds his own echo. And Josh.
Resistance is futile.
Yes,
Futile,
very,
futile.
very aggressive start today. Today on the show, we'll be covering this week's books from DC, and we hope you enjoy it. Of course, make sure you stick around until the end of this episode to hear our top 3 books of the week, our biggest stinker, and to find out which titles might just make the dump list. If you would like to support us further, please visit buymeacoffee.com/NAR podcast for either a one-time donation or subscription for access to our Discord, as well as other exclusive content that's available on the network. But with that out of the way, let's get into the news for this week. Guys, what's new with you?
Nothing. How about you guys?
Got a new phone. Can't wait to get
Fun.
into it.
Yeah,
Pixel 7.
that's always nice to have new tech
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's it. Yeah. That's about it for my world. What's new with you,
Except-
Brandon?
Yeah.
Except when it's a Dell computer at Brandon's house, then it's not
Oh,
okay to
God,
get
yeah,
into
shoot,
anything,
man.
right?
We were talking off the air. My laptop, my previous Mac broke. That's the one thing I hate about these Macs. Like they can be pretty durable, but if the screen breaks, it's just completely fucked. So the screen broke, wouldn't you know it? And I had to get a replacement for a day that the school loaned, and it was a Dell laptop, and it was literally like just the most painful thing ever. It's the embodiment of first world problems, but I'm so not used to using a Dell. It was literally like learning a new language. So for about a day and a half, I was trying to figure the damn thing out, and it was just killing me. So thankfully, I was able to get a replacement pretty soon. So we're back on track. We're back on Mac, you can say, I suppose.
Oh, God. I thought.
Yes. Yeah.
Return
Exactly.
Oh, there it goes.
Exactly. Oh God, that's definitely what I was saying once the damn thing showed up. But as for me, as I'm sure you guys are exhaustingly aware by now, last weekend got to go to New York Comic Con, which is like the one thing I get to do in the fall, the one fun thing I get to do that I look forward to the most. And naturally, there was a lot of big news this year, and I was very happy to finally, after like 5 years of longing, be able to go to some of the big panels, which was very exciting. But in terms of the personal experience, it was just great. I mean, it was, there is definitely a stigma around the show. A lot of people are not big fans of New York, and in fact, Bleeding Cool actually ran an article that was like New York Comic Con needed more heroes or something like that, and the first point they mentioned was like the city is gross, and I totally get that. But for me, I'm living like in the middle of nowhere because my college is just located in nowhere upstate New York. So getting into the city is like a joy, no matter how gross or disgusting it is. It just beats seeing the same 4 cow farms. But aside from that, it was just a lot of fun, and there were a lot of great highlights that I was very fortunate to experience. First one, just this was a personal one for me, but actually getting to meet Jonathan Hickman in public, in face to face, was like a 3-year long goal that I finally got to do, and it went exactly as I hoped it would, and it was just super fun. The Scott Snyder Jock Comixology Conversations panel was also a lot of fun, and I somehow won a free Amazon Fire 7 for asking
Awesome.
2 ridiculous
Nice.
questions that were very embarrassing. But I guess were so embarrassing that they were willing to fork over the prize along with someone else, I guess, who won another additional one. They were giving them out to whoever asked the most interesting questions, and I happened to
Now
be
I
one
need
of
to know
those.
what your questions were.
The first one was a pseudo-intellectual question, as I'm sure you would expect no less, which was basically, Snyder had been talking a lot about like this idea of inherent evil and sort of the themes that he'd been exploring around that in his books lately. And my question was just like, has exploring some of these ideas around inherent evil and fatalism and nihilism and predestination changed your view of humanity? And that was the first question. And I guess maybe it wasn't that bad because Comixology decided to post that response on their Instagram page. But thankfully, they cut out the part where I asked the question because Lord knows the world did not need to hear my nasally voice. The second part of the question was for Jock, and I asked, who writes the most entertaining scripts? Scott, Andy Diggle, and Jeff Lemire, which got a surprising number of laughs from the audience. But it was sort of an awkward question because it's like, oh shit, it's like asking, which kid is your favorite? But according to Jock, it was ballsy enough that they were willing to fork over the Amazon Fire. But I guess it, for about a day, made me kind of infamous because after I walked out of the panel, there were a couple of people who had also attended the panel that made their way down to Artist Alley and were getting signatures and stuff, and they were like, "Oh my God, you're the guy that asked the question," which was very embarrassing, but a little flattering, I suppose. I was con infamous for about a day. So there was that.
Don't
but yeah,
suppose you dropped the podcast name while you were up there gushing, did you?
I did not know. I was going free this weekend. It was just me taking it in. I wasn't representing the network this week. But no, it was still a lot of fun regardless. And I got to meet a lot of the creators that I'd longed to meet that I didn't think I'd get a chance to, and had some really great conversations with some of the professionals, especially Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing, and Yannick Paquette, who I don't know if you guys know anything about Yannick.
He's an artist, a contributor very often.
Yeah, artist on Swamp Thing and Batman Incorporated most famously. But I had never listened to the guy speak, so I didn't really know what to expect. But we were just we went up to his booth. It was me and this other guy, and we got there kind of early, and Yannick showed up a little late, and the dude was super animated. I think he's Slovenian, so I don't know if it's an Eastern European thing. I don't want to stereotype, but he had a very animated way about him, and so we ended up talking to him for 20 minutes, me and this other guy, and just talking about the artistic process, and it was just really cool. That was definitely my favorite conversation, aside from the Kelly and Lansing conversation, because they were very sweet, and they're best friends, and I was there with my best friend, so we just talked about what it's like to work with your best friend in comics, and that was the more wholesome one. The one with Yannick, I think, was the more intellectual one, where we were just talking about composition and artistic structure, and what you can do in comics versus what you can do in film, and it was really, really great. But I'd never heard Yannick speak before, so it was oh my God, I had no idea this guy was so prolific, and yeah, very animated. I don't know if you guys know the philosopher Slavoj Žižek. I don't know if you've heard that name before, but he reminded me. Yeah, he reminded me a lot of Slavoj Žižek. He just had this very animated, outgoing way about him. So if you ever get the chance to meet Yannick, tell him I said what's up. And then finally, I guess just in terms of personal stuff from the con, all the people who were doing signings and stuff and took the time out to personalize signatures. You guys are the absolute fucking best. It was always super heartening to see some artist who already has 1 million commissions, and you bring them your book or issue or whatever to sign, and they're like, yeah, I'll just take a brief 20-second sketch on your cover and do it and personalize it, and no trouble at all. I brought a copy of Coffin Bound for Danny and Dan Waters to sign, and Danny grabs my copy and she's just like, what's your name? It's oh, cool. Here, let me just do a 30-second sketch of the main character from the book inside your thing, and I'll personalize it and put all this extra shit on it. And I was dude, you didn't have to do that at all. But it's always so heartwarming when you bring them their stuff and they're so appreciative of it that they're willing to add some extra stuff. And most of them were like that. I got John Hickman to do little sketches of some of the designs from East of West and Nightly News. And I think my favorite has to be Josh Williamson and Dan Waters, who, how sometimes they'll put like a little word bubble if they're signing and like write something, something personalized or whatever. And Dan Waters on my copy of Sword of Azrael put, because Azrael obviously says, know that men call you betrayer or defiler or whatever. And on my cover, from now until the end of time, will say, know that men call you Brandon, which put a smile on this old so-and-so's face. And then Josh Williamson on my copy of the Superman Batman issue where it's Damian and Supergirl teaming up. I sent you guys a picture over on Discord, but for the listeners, there's a scene where Damian is like doesn't want to team up with Kara at all, and he's like, I can do it all myself because I'm the son of Batman. And Josh was very nice about signing the copy, and talked about how much he loved that issue. Put on the cover in a word balloon, son of Batman, and a little like the t thing that Damian does, which was very nice. So yeah, it was just a great time to be there. Honestly, I think it's probably one of the best conventions I've been to, and I've been very fortunate to go to quite a few over the past decade or so that I've been going to conventions. But I think this was definitely like the biggest, craziest one of all. Even if a lot of people were complaining about how disgusting the city has become, but I didn't care. I was just happy to be there. But that's how it was on the personal side of things. Over on the comics news side of things, there was a lot of stuff that came out about DC specifically about some of their books coming up. And I figure why beat around it? Why not just start with the biggest one of all? Certainly the one that I think got the most buzz, which was the Superman panel. And you kind of got the sense this is going to be like kind of me giving you a brief blow-by-blow of what happened. So listeners get the inside scoop of what it was actually like to sit in that crowded ass panel room. But you kind of got the sense right from walking in that it was going to be something special because Alex Segura, who was sort of moderating the whole thing, was like, all right, everyone pull out your phones because like all the big news is going to be here. And so we knew something was coming. But it was, it started off very, very normally, everyone kind of talking about like what did they love about Superman and what was their first introduction to it and all that stuff. And then, they sort of start transitioning to the bigger news. They talked about Superman Space Age and some of the upcoming stuff coming from that because Mark Russell was also there. And Mark Russell was another person I never heard speak, so hearing his voice for the first time was kind of weird. But he sounds like every other person from Portland, I guess. It was just a little unnerving. I was like, oh, is that what you sound like? Okay, that's not what I envisioned, but here we are. But yeah, they talked about Space Age, some of the upcoming stuff there. They are going to be taking on the Anti-Monitor in the subsequent issues of, I believe, 3 and 4, or I think it might just be issue 3. I don't remember if it was a 3-issue or 4-issue series, but something like that. But basically, it'll be playing out there, and that'll be coming out next year. And then I would say arguably the biggest news of all, the one that I would love to send you guys the video, but fucking Discord won't let me send it because the file's too big. But certainly, I would say the one that got the biggest reaction, the biggest gasp reaction, was the announcement that come this January or February, I believe, the Superman title, the main Superman title, will be relaunched with a new #1 written by none other than Joshua Williamson with art from Jamal Campbell, who will be doing the first arc. The second arc will be done by Nick Dragotta, which did not get a lot of applause, but I was one of the ones who clapped, and I was a little bummed that people weren't more excited about that because Nick Dragotta is fucking awesome, and seeing him do Superman is going to be like just incredible. Even if I would prefer him to do more independent stuff, but I think this will be exciting nonetheless. The first story of that arc will focus on Lex Luthor, who will be in prison at the start of it, as well as picking up some of the newer threads that are going on in Metropolis right now. They're introducing a new commissioner of the Metropolis Police Department or something like that, since Maggie Sawyer is obviously in Bloodhaven right now, as well as a couple of other new characters. So exciting stuff there. I definitely could feel the energy in the room where everyone was pretty taken aback that Superman was going to be his next big title. So hopefully there's some good stuff there. Over on the Action Comics side of things, That whole title is getting a complete shakeup as it will now feature 3 stories instead of 2, so it'll have 2 backups. I don't know if there's going to be a price increase there. They didn't say anything, but I think you can kind of assume that's going to be the case.
I'm sorry,
Um,
what book did you say that was?
Action Comics. Yeah. So right now, obviously, it has 1 backup. Now it'll have 2 backups. The first backup is going to be a story focusing on a young John Kent, just sort of a flashback to the to the old farm days when John Kent was younger, which got really big applause. Like I know people have talked about, everyone's kind of settled into John being Superman now, but I was shocked. Like Jurgens dropped the news. He's like, hey, I'm teaming up with Lee Weeks again, and we're gonna be doing more stories with a young John Kent, set back in the farm days, and everyone just like lit up. They went nuts. Like there was a ton of applause and like cheers, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't realize people were still that passionate about it. So I guess the fan base for the younger John Kent and not the older John Kent is still pretty strong, at least if you can consider that number of people within the panel as a representation of the fan base. But the second backup story is going to be a Power Girl backup story, which I think will be pretty cool, written by Leah Williams with art from Marguerite Sauvage. We've gotten a little bit of Power Girl here and there, obviously with One Star Squadron, but this will be cool seeing her more focused on the super family. But the main story, which will now feature art from Rafa Sandoval, is going to be the regular artist on the book, which is awesome. Is going to focus heavily on the super family, and one of the things that Philip Kennedy Johnson stressed is that it's really going to be focused on like the super family is the first family of Metropolis, with especially focusing on the Irons family. So Natasha and John Henry they're going to be kind of like Metropolis royalty, which also got a lot of applause. I think people were very excited about that.
So this is also Action Comics.
This is all in Action Comics.
But this is what Joshua Williamson is writing, not Philip Kennedy Johnson.
No, this is what Philip Kennedy Johnson is doing with Action Comics.
And then Williamson is doing the fucking relaunch of Superman.
Yeah, he's doing the
Gotcha.
Superman book. So yeah, all the Super Family stuff that will be with. I mean, he's still going to be writing Clark Kent in the book, but it's also going to focus on the super family as well, which is also very cool. And most importantly, Philip Kennedy Johnson proudly announced that he will be remaining on Action Comics for the foreseeable future, as well as continuing to work on future DC projects that can't be revealed as of yet. But I was very excited, as well as others, to hear that he's not leaving the book anytime soon. He will be continuing to write that, presumably throughout 2023. So that will be awesome, and I can't wait to see what else he's got in store. Apparently, the next big story will be focusing on Metallo, and it's going to be showing Metallo in a way that we've never seen it before, as well as seeing more of the Warworldians adjust. And this one, Rob, I think is actually going to make you fucking shit your pants, because you are going to feel like a prophet. You're going to feel like a psychic, because one of the things that he flagged that got everyone, like when you're in like an audience or something and someone drops major news and everyone's like, oh, what does it mean? One of the things that he teased was that we have not seen the last of Mongol, because one of the things that he pointed out in War World Apocalypse, and everyone in the audience conveniently got free copies of War World Apocalypse, but one of the things that he pointed out was that Krill Ux, after he left, took Mongol's body. He didn't leave it on War World. He took it, and we don't know what he did with that. So one of the things that he teased was that while we may have gotten to the end of the War World saga, we're not necessarily done with the Mongol saga yet. And my brain lit up. I was like, oh my god, Rob is a genius. Because one of the things that he said was like, yes, we saw this huge, War World's Apocalypse saga, but this could be like, like World War Hulk, where it's only just building up to something even bigger. And I think that's what he's implying, that we're only for as crazy as that story was, we're only getting to the beginning of the madness, if you can believe it. So I was like, oh my god, he was right. There is something crazier coming. So I don't know if that makes you feel validated or anything, but I was thinking of you when he said that.
I just feel excited.
Yeah, so you
That's
were right. You
awesome.
were right on the money, man. There's apparently bigger stuff to come, with Mongol and future stuff down the line.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I
I'm
guess.
happy he's going to be in the book for a long time
Oh
coming.
yeah, no, me too. And I mean, people were like, when he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not leaving Action Comics," and everyone was like, "Yeah, awesome," and clapping and stuff. So it was great. And just as a side note, Philip Kennedy Johnson is the sweetest man in the world, and deserves like a mile long line in front of his booth every time I went over there, and it was a couple times. It was you'd have a couple people milling about, but it was never substantial, and it broke my heart because on the other side of the artist alley you have the Scott Snyder booth, which was like just continuously packed. Like you could never get there without having a giant ass line. And it was like, guys, like go over there. Like this guy just did an amazing, Action Comics run. Like you should be lining up. Like he's as a giant audience. But I think it's coming. I think within 2 years he'll have a serious audience once he starts writing Justice League. But no, he's the sweetest man in the world. Was not shy of talking about his future stuff for Superman, and just how appreciative he was of people who were picking up his books and all that stuff. So just a very kind guy, and I feel like if we were to time it right, we could definitely get him on the show for an interview because he seemed
What
very open to that sort of
when
stuff.
he starts writing Justice League, is this wishful thinking or was that actually mentioned?
No, that was wishful thinking, but I
Okay.
mean, I don't know. Maybe he said future DC projects that have yet to be announced, which could mean anything. But in my heart of hearts, I like to think that it's Justice League. But yeah,
In my
no,
heart of hearts, the only good news that you said was that he was going to remain on Action Comics. I don't see them increasing the page count on Action Comics, which means to me that the main story is going to have fewer pages. Um,
no, it's
I am
not. So they
seriously
did
bummed
talk.
out.
No, it's so they actually talked. The main story size is not going to change. That will be the same. It's just they're essentially adding on an extra one, which is why I think there's probably going to be a price increase. But again, they didn't say anything about that. Presumably because they didn't want to make everyone pissed. But I imagine that will be coming later. Yeah, no, that'll get people real excited when they hear that the price is going from $4.99 to $5.99. That'll get tons
Yeah,
of
I
applause
mean,
and cheers. But the main story will not be affected. He clarified that. So super cool stuff there. And I think of course the biggest exciting news about the format change was that Dan Jurgens would be doing the young John Kent stories, since people really wanted to see that. But on the subject of John
it's
Kent,
crazy.
to kind of cap off the Superman panel, they announced to surprisingly like no noise, that the sun and I'm not like I'm not adding any personal bias. I literally went back and rewatched the footage that I had, where these announcements were coming through. So this has nothing to do with me. But they announced that Superman Son of Kal-El, and I kind of saw this one coming, that would be ending after issue 18, but they had a video from Tom Taylor, since he couldn't make it to New York, live from Melbourne, Australia, that awkwardly couldn't play at first, so they kind of had to fumble with the presentation before they finally got it rolling, in which he revealed that, yes, the series would be coming to an end, but they will be following that up with a 6-issue Adventures of Superman series, that he will be writing with art from Clayton Henry. The story will see John face off against Ultraman, which he will do alongside Val Zod, the new 52 Superman of Earth 2, which also got, I think, some applause. But I don't know. I couldn't. I was trying to read the room, because I was standing in the back a little bit during the first part of it, and then a couple people left, and I was able to sit down. And I want to say people were excited when they announced that it would be against Ultraman and teaming up against Val Zod. It
Just
seemed like there was some
dumb.
some energy there, but I don't know. Like sometimes I have a hard time reading people and reading the room, so it seemed like there was some excitement, but it also seemed a little like kind of lackluster, and I don't know if this just speaks more to people's desire to see the young John Kent return, because when we left the panel room there's obviously chatter, everyone talking amongst their friends, and I overheard a couple people who were just like, "Yo, do you think, you know, once he faces off against Ultraman, he's gonna like turn back time and be like the young John again?" And there were a couple people who were kind of talking like that. So I don't know. I'm trying to gauge the situation because obviously I can't speak for the entire comics community as a whole, but at least for the microcosm of the fandom, the 50 or 60 of us that were in that room, it seems like people were more excited about the young John than the continuing adventures of the adult Superman John. So I don't know. I maybe I was reading too much into it or not enough. I'm not really sure. But it seemed like that announcement got a little bit more of a lukewarm reaction than I would have expected from the announcement. But yeah, I mean that was pretty much how they capped off the big blockbuster Superman panel. I didn't get to make the Gotham City panel because I had to go to the Frank Miller one at the same time, and that one was much more entertaining from the way I hear it, because apparently the Gotham City one was kind of dull. But I did get to go to the Jim Lee and Friends panel, which was just sort of like a recap of some of the stuff coming up. Some very exciting stuff from the world of Milestone in particular. They talked about the Shadows of Dakota book that's coming out soon, the Static sequel, and showed off some art, which looks awesome. They have I think it was announced, I mean, I don't remember hearing about it anywhere else, but the Milestone 30th anniversary special, which will feature stories from Chuck Brown, Stephanie Williams, and Nicholas Draper Ivey, as well as some others. It's going to have art from Dennis Cowan, also from Nicholas Draper Ivey, and some newcomers as well. And is also going to feature. They talked about the Milestone Initiative and how they were bringing in like a ton of new diverse voices, and that got a lot of applause, which was really really nice to hear. And they talked about how this anniversary special is going to be some of their first work like ever in comics, and so that was really nice to hear. They're bringing in a lot of new young diverse voices that will get to have their debut on the world stage, and in no better place than in the Milestone universe. And then they also talked about the upcoming Hardware versus Icon book, which I also think hadn't been announced elsewhere. And forgive me, I didn't take a picture of the cover that had the creative team, but if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was Reggie Hudlin and Leon Chills with art from, it might have been Dennis Cowan or Chris Cross. I don't remember exactly, but I'm sure you can find it online somewhere.
Those are the only people that should be accepted on that book.
Yeah, it was like someone like that. Although personally, I was hoping that they would get Brandon Thomas to do it since he did such a great job on Hardware season 1. But it is what it is. So look forward to that. And then I think the one that some of the sites didn't pick up, but honestly I found to be pretty earth-shattering, which was that all of this Milestone stuff is still cooking and still going strong. But one of the things that Jim Lee kind of highlighted was that in the past they've had some really great crossovers with the mainstream DC universe, and obviously it would be disingenuous to not do that with the current Milestone stuff, and that got the hushed the hushed whispers and like, oh, what could it mean? So
Wait,
I would say stay tuned.
Did you say Wildstorm or Milestone?
Oh, sorry, Milestone. Well, actually, Milestone and Wildstorm, because that's also going to have some crossovers coming soon.
I think you said Milestorm.
Milestone was supposed to remain completely independent of DC.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these stories are going to be, contained in their own universe, but I think you can kind of expect that there's going to be some kind of crossover here or there. Like it's only natural, and honestly, I'm cool with that. Like some of my favorite Teen Titans stuff was when, Static was joining the team, or they had that JLA story where they team up with Shadow Cabinet. So like, I'm not against that, honestly. Like, yes, they can still shine on their own, but there's no harm in having them crossover. It's about the same as having the Wildstorm universe crossover, since that was pretty independent for a while. So I think I hope that it will be treated well, but we shall see. But I would say stay tuned for that, since they said that will ultimately be coming later on down the line. in 2023, I believe, around the fall or so. And then I guess the last bit of news, even though I didn't get to make the Gotham City panel, I did catch some of the highlights. And really, it seemed like the biggest news that was coming out of that was that there's going to be some kind of like Harley Quinn versus the DC Universe story or something like that, that Frank Thierry will be writing. And oh crap! I almost missed the biggest one. I'm so sorry. I think it was just because I also didn't make that panel. But continuing the Harley Quinn story, that will be, I think, just like a spoof on the, like, the Deadpool or Punisher kills some Marvel universe, like those types of stories. They're doing like the DC version of that essentially, but with Harley Quinn. So that'll be coming out at some point in 2023. I'm sure Harley Quinn fans will appreciate that. But the big one that I almost completely forgot was the first big kind of crossover that'll be coming out of 2023, the start of the new year, which is the Mark Waid showrun event called Lazarus Planet. That will be spinning out of Batman versus Robin, and we'll get into more discussion about that book later on in the show. But that was definitely some of the bigger news that they kind of dropped a little early. They'd been teasing it, but they officially announced it at the Thursday panel at New York Comic Con, which is basically going to be I think an 8-part or 10-part or something like that event that's going to feature a multitude of different characters as well as writers and artists that are all going to be detailing what's going on with the Lazarus story. And apparently this is spinning out of the ending of Batman versus Robin, or Robin versus Batman number 4, which obviously we don't have yet, but we sort of know that at some point a Lazarus volcano will erupt and will change the status quo of things, and will exact some kind of changes on various characters throughout the DC universe.
Like it did on the Justice League and Pariah and the Young Kids and
what's up?
Oh my God!
Wait, sorry,
Mongol.
I missed the first
There's
part
no
of that.
such thing that changes in the DC universe.
Well, I just mean temporarily, not permanently, obviously.
Yeah,
change in any major superhero comics is pretty much impossible. But this is I think appears to be mostly a self-contained thing from what I can see right now, although it could have bigger ramifications down the line. But this is basically, if anyone read the Inhumanity event from like 2014 or 2015 after Infinity, which is basically like the Terrigen Cloud that was roaming around New York City, following, or really the entire world, I guess, but specifically New York City, I think, was the focus after the events of Infinity, where it was changing people into Inhumans. This is kind of like that, where you'll have the effects of this Lazarus volcano explosion changing some of the characters and possibly introducing new characters in strange and bizarre ways. But that will be pretty much like the first week after December, right after the end of Dark Crisis. So I joke they're not giving us any goddamn time to recover from the end of that before launching straight into the next one. So I hope it is entertaining in some ways and not at all exhausting, because
I'm already exhausted and I am contemplating quitting reading DC Comics.
For Lazarus Planet?
No, for the entire panel that you announced. To me,
really?
Yeah, turning John into a kid, that's dumb as fuck.
Well, that's not
bringing
confirmed.
Mongo back so fast. That's dumb as shit.
That's
bringing Mongo
speculation.
back. Well, okay, but you're still getting backstories of focusing on John, while we're just going to get a mini of him as an adult doing something he really doesn't need to be doing. Because why are we fucking bringing Mongo back? There's Action Comics is going to increase in page count, so that is going to increase in price. I mean, I highly doubt they're not going to do that.
Maybe they'll be kind to us. Yeah, maybe they'll be kind to us.
Neither one of those backups sound interesting at all. I just a spin out of anyway. I'm seriously disappointed.
I'm
I
sorry to hear that.
found no good news from all the news you just said. I understand that I'm alone, as I usually am, in the DC Comics sphere of fans, but all of that is just very, very bad news to me.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. But I don't know. For me, at least, a lot of this stuff was pretty exciting, and definitely fun to actually get to be there, where they're breaking all the stuff down instead of just catching it on a recap or something. So, yeah, no, that's. I mean, I don't believe I've missed anything else. But yeah, no, that was New York Comic Con. It was loud, it was crazy, as to be expected, and I'm very much looking forward to going again next year. Hopefully, this year or next year it will be a little bit nicer, so people will stop complaining about how gross New York City is. But aside from that, no, it was a lot of fun, and I was really glad to go. And it's always cool because I get to go with one of my best friends in the world. And we just go around and get into mayhem and just bullshit about random stuff for hours on end while making our way around the various convention floors. So, no, it was pretty great. Nice to see a lot of the announcements. Interested to see what's coming in the future, and yeah, that's about it for me.
Very nice. You know, New York Comic Con. If you pay attention to those articles and you're looking for a new host city, I think Toronto is available.
Well, don't they have a Toronto Comic Con or
They
something like that?
they have Toronto Comic Con, but it's
Uh-huh.
pretty small scale and it's overshadowed by Fan Expo, which
Oh yeah,
really
yeah,
doesn't have that. The whole claim to fame of Fan Expo is there's so much to do, but there's
yeah,
not
yeah.
much in the way of panels. And Toronto Comic Con really doesn't have much in comparison.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to Fan Expo Boston one year. I think all the Fan Expos are like that, where it's definitely more on like what you can do on on the exhibition hall or meeting with certain
Yeah,
artists or creators, but it's not usually quite so robust in the way of like announcements and panels and stuff.
yeah.
Um,
It
yeah.
used to be. I remember
Mhm.
going to DC and Marvel panels back like 10, 12 years ago at Fan Expo,
Mhm.
but they stopped doing it.
Well, you said you went to like a Dan DiDio panel once, right?
Yeah, I think that was the last time. That might
Mhm.
have been the last DC panel I went to. I don't know if
Yeah,
it was the last
yeah,
DC panel they did.
yeah.
But
Oh
yeah,
my
he hosted
God.
it, and there
So,
were a few creators there. I don't remember what creators
mhm.
were there at the time, but he was hosting it.
Yeah,
He was
I
fun.
forget if yeah, I forget if you had said it or someone else, but oh my God, that man is like, I mean, policies aside, things that I may disagree with, but he's just like he's so charismatic and so
Yeah,
entertaining. Like
he's
it's
good on the
it's
mic.
it's
He
like
really is.
infectious. So I went to two of the because he's doing the Frank Miller Presents stuff now, and I went to two of the panels they had on Friday and Sunday. And every time I was there, like I would be a little bit tired or something because it was a little bit later in the afternoon, so I was definitely starting to feel the weight of the day at that point. But like every time I would get there, it was just like just bring the energy up in the room and like could really just make people feel excited.
Yeah.
And
Did
you
you
know,
have the
I
4 day pass?
no, I wasn't there on Thursday, but I was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which was like exhausting. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I got to
I'm
Sunday and I was like,
I'm just curious how much it costs to go.
so bad. Where I was just like in pain and like I it's been probably what 3 4 days since it ended, and like my shoulders still feel jacked up because I was just
Oh yeah.
walking around with this big ass backpack full of books that I wanted to get signed.
You'll
Just
feel
like
it for another
running
week or
from
so.
yeah, running from like room to room, like, oh, I gotta get here, and like I got to Sunday, I was like, I gotta stop. I was just like, I can't, I can't go on, and we had to go back to my buddy's apartment, to just kind of like collect our stuff and just rest for a little bit. And I was like, dude, I need like an hour and a half. Like I can't keep walking. And it was, oh yeah, I was so glad. Like I love going. Honestly, I do. But if there's one thing that's just painful, it's the walking. It'll
Hmm.
just it'll kill you. And I'm very grateful to be young and full of life. Because I truly do feel for some of the older gentlemen in the crowd that were just like waiting in line for so long. Because oh my God, I can't imagine how tired they must have been. And yeah, it was just a lot. It was definitely a lot, but a lot of fun, I will say. So yeah, that's about it for me. As I said, crazy weekend, but crazy good time.
Good
What
to
do the
hear.
tickets cost for that thing?
Whew. Well,
It's got to be a
I
couple hundred.
believe the average price is about, I want to say 67 or so. So
Like per day, you mean?
yeah, per day. So add that up. If you're talking a 3 day pass, roughly what, like 180 or so. And thankfully, I most of the money that I am making with my job and stuff, I usually just put aside and save, and then I have an extra little kind of corner that I use to pay for books every week for the comics and stuff. And then well, I don't want to talk about budgeting and everything, but
No,
suffice it to
not
say,
budgeting. I was just curious what the
yeah,
tickets
suffice it
were.
to say, yeah, it's definitely cheaper than like a concert ticket or something. But you have to be very practical with when you get your tickets because they will sell out very quickly,
Oh
as I learned very tragically with those Thursday tickets, because they just went like hotcakes. People were literally just like, I think people use like computers or bots or something to buy a bunch of tickets like super fast, and I don't
oh
have the
yeah.
fucking I don't have the tech savvy to do that. So like, I can't. Yeah, I can't. I can't figure out how that works or whatever. But if I was smart enough to program that stuff, I would probably do it too. But honestly, that's probably why they sell out so fast. But yeah, it's you got to be quick about it. You got to be quick and smart about it. But if it were out of state, it would probably be harder to get to New York, to New York Comic Con. But thankfully, where I'm going to school is in New York, so it's just a 4 hour drive, which is a small price to pay, for such a fun and crazy weekend. But I feel like I've been talking for a very long time, so I feel like we should probably talk about something else.
Let's talk
Um,
about some honorable mentions
Yeah.
then. We have a couple. Urban Legends number 20. This has my favorite art of the week, and the stories were pretty decent too. Jurassic League 6, you'll have to ask my co hosts. They like it. I think I'm way over dinosaurs, and that might be Chris Pratt's fault. Future State Gotham 18. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I was tired when I read it, but something felt off with that issue and more than just the art. I don't know. it's the last this one and the two before it have kind of slowly I've been losing interest in it rapidly. Flash, Fastest Man Alive number 2, the movie tie-in. I could give about I care about as much as this comic as I do about the fucking movie. I guess read it if you are obsessed and really into the Flash movie that's coming up and you have excessive disposable income, but it's seriously skippable. DC Terrors Through Time. Great talent, anthology book. Like Urban Legends, the art is really good, and I really enjoyed the stories too. It's a fun read, especially for the holiday season. Pick it up. You can have fun with it. And this comes from somebody who, generally speaking, cannot stand anthology books, let alone the seasonal ones, which are almost always terrible. But that's all the honorable mentions I got, and I suppose with that we should just move on over to the spotlight, huh?
Let's do it. Yeah. Starting off with a brand new number one, a return of an old favorite, Batman Incorporated number one. This one is brought to us by Mr. Ed Brisson, who surprisingly still remembered our interview from a couple of months ago when I got to see him briefly, very briefly at NYCC. It was very, very kind and Canadian about it. with art from John Timms, colors from Rex Locus, and letters from Clayton Cowles. In far-off Dublin, someone has murdered Tommy Devane, and the Batman Inc. crew is on the case. While they've been trying to investigate Lex Luthor's secret Batman experiments across the world with little luck there, someone has been murdering the old mentors of Bruce Wayne and Ghostmaker. So the various teams of Batman Inc. decide to investigate just who may be behind the murders, with such cryptic clues being left at the scene of the murders like the student has become the master and no more teachers, we and Batman Inc. can infer that whoever is behind this is likely a disgruntled student out for revenge. Back in Dublin, some of the Batman Inc. crew discover that the murderer used some kind of sword, while in Japan, Ghostmaker walks into a deadly TNT with an old flame called Sky Spider. Solid start to a murder mystery story. Who doesn't love those? This is not quite as bombastic, or at least this story, I imagine, is not going to be quite as bombastic as the Leviathan story that we got in the previous Batman Inc. with Talia and all that craziness. But I'll give the story a chance nonetheless. It definitely seems to be as international as the last one, but a little bit smaller in terms of story scope. Art is decent, but nothing crazy. But a solid start all around. So I gave this one an 8 out of 10.
Right on. Yeah, I think it's a damn good first issue. Some great character work, really good artwork, a lot of fun, and a really good mystery going on so far that I honestly, of all the things that I could have thought coming in this book, I did not see that come in. Some mystery character, who knows who it is. I love that. I've said that before. This is good. 9 out of 10.
Awesome. Also, just a final point. Such an awesome variant cover from Jorge Molina. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it is just gorgeous. No. Oh man. It's like a double page spread of the entire Batman Inc. team. It is it's just incredible. It's been my screensaver for like the past month.
Cool. The characters are good. The art looks good. There's several team members I would send to the Get a New Costume store. Almost all of them? No, correction. Everybody but Ghostmaker needs to go back to the costume store. But the art is really good.
Bite your tongue. Wingman and El Gaucho have great costumes.
They do not.
Oh,
and Heroes is great.
Yeah.
Once he gets a new name, it'll be perfect.
Mm-hmm. But the art itself is great, regardless of what it is that it's drawing. And it's a mystery. I mean, I've wanted a Batman book with a mystery story in it for as long as I've been saying it for as long as I've been doing this podcast and longer. We finally got one. And we keep on referring to a singular bad guy here, but we do have 4 instances of things going on, things going awry, and they're all semi-related, all of these teams being pulled into these different directions. So I can't help but wonder if there's not 4 villains that we're looking at here rather than one. We got the shadowy figure at the Suriname Nature Reserve, the sword with the red hilt at Dublin that made them go, oh no, Ghostmaker's old flame Sky Spider in China, and in Russia there's Avery. So we could be looking at 4 different bad guys here. In any case, it's good voices, good
Batman
pacing.
Incorporated.
Right? Good voices, good pacing. Batman Incorporated could be a fantastic book. It's way too early to tell, but if Deathstroke was any indication, Ed Brisson is just a fucking storytelling machine, and I am looking forward to more. It was a hell of a fun time for a setup issue. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I do give it an 8 out of 10.
Right on.
Very nice. Excellent storyteller and a very nice guy. Let's see. All right, what do we have next?
Dark Crisis World Without a Justice League?
That is correct. So I'm going to pass it over to Rob to give us the details.
Gladly.
680.
680?
There just seems to be a lot of these Dark Crisis books.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is the Green Arrow Worlds Without a Justice League tie-in. So the first part is written by Stephanie Williams with art from Clayton Henry, colors from Marcelo Maiolo, and letters from Troy Peteri. So very easily we're kind of transported into a Robin Hood-esque world, which is very fitting for Oliver Queen and his band of merry men and women, which include Roy Harper, Mia Dearden, and Connor Hawke themselves. They are taking on the band of, I don't know if you call them, not really rogues, enforcers of royalty, led by none other than Malcolm Merlyn. They make quick work of the villains. Malcolm
Don't you
escapes,
mean
Ollie
the
gives
sheriff of
chase.
Nottingham?
Yes, or
If we're really
the sheriff of Starringham.
oh god.
No,
Yeah.
that's a little too Muppets for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Waka waka
Okay.
waka.
Waka
Yeah.
waka.
If we're really
Oh,
leaning into the
okay.
Robin Hood stuff.
Yeah, this bit's going downhill very fast. So I'm
Mhm.
I'm just power through. So Ollie
Because we're
gives
men.
chase.
We're manly men. In tights,
Oh my
tights,
God.
tights.
You've seen Robin Hood Men in Tights? Oh,
Who the hell
Everybody's seen
hasn't
Robin
seen-
Hood Men in
Yes.
Tights.
oh my God.
Oh,
Yes.
I own it on
Manly men.
DVD.
I was waiting for the moment when Oliver would just stop and start dancing. That would have made my day, but
That
it
would
was
have been
not to be.
fantastic. Oh man, now I wish there was like an older Green Arrow movie and Carrie
Oh my
Elwes was
God.
just
Oh
like
man,
played
that
Oliver
would be
Queen. That would have been
excellent.
amazing. Just combine like his Robin Hood and his Wesley from Princess Bride, and you have the perfect Oliver Queen.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Malcolm Merlyn is escaping, and we see a hooded figure who appears to be a bard of some sort, kind of narrating the adventure, giving this more of a fairy tale feel. Malcolm escapes into the woods, and Oliver gives chase, saying, "Hey, this is my turf. You're kind of screwed now, boy." But he gets lost and is found by none other than a yellow canary, uh, which twees at him and then flies off. So Oliver, for some reason, chases the bird and ends up through this foggy area. And on the other side of the fog is a city that he does not recognize and makes no sense because he is from centuries prior to the time that cities with buildings were born. So he crosses over, looks around, sees himself in the reflection of a window, but then he's quickly attacked by a hooded woman who reveals herself to be none other than Black Canary. They do not know each other, but they both seem familiar to each other, and after a brief tussle, they kind of just stop for a second after staring into each other's eyes and then go off together trying to figure out what's going on. Before they get too far into their discussion and exploring the city, a shirtless figure climbs out of the ground and starts to follow them. They head back to uh, Dinah Lance's club, the Canary Club, that she owns. And while they're talking over drinks and getting to know each other right before they have a big romantic moment, the club explodes. Probably everybody's dead. But it is the shirtless figure that crawled out of the ground. It is none other than Oliver Queen looking like Arthur Curry. And it is apparently a version of Oliver Queen that did not leave the island years prior. So he's very feral and very Tarzan-like. So the two Olivers fight. Canary gets in the way, screams at him, sends him flying, but the Olivers get back in the fight, start fighting each other. Black Canary fights, more fighting, and just before Tarzan Oliver is about to stab good Oliver, Black Canary picks up a bow and arrow, shoots him with an exploding arrow, and they take off and share a romantic kiss while everything burns around them. Because that's what romance is all about. Meanwhile, the bard is there.
Just gonna stand there and watch me burn.
Oh man, it's a musical episode now, folks.
I was singing No Diggity before the episode started getting recorded. I think Brandon had to listen to it.
I heard nothing, so I
That's
have no idea what you sounded like.
That's
okay.
it's good.
Well,
It sounded about as good as my Rihanna impression, if that tells you
Huh.
anything. But anyway,
we'll have a reprisal at the end of the episode. We'll have the ensemble come out and reprise. So just as the two share their final kiss, the bard reappears and reveals himself to be another Oliver Queen. Apparently, this world is full of them. Oddly enough, we now get into our backup, which is supposed to be the Black Canary backup, but we'll get into why that's confusing in a second. This one is written by Dennis Culver with art from Nick Varela, colors from Romulo Fajardo Jr., and letters also from Troy Pateri. So we open up on two worlds, Earth Black Canary Point 1 and Earth Green Arrow Point 1, two very different worlds, but both taking place similarly in Batman Beyond type futures. Black Canary is part of the Birds of Prey, led by Barbara Gordon and Oracle, the computer system, not the person. And Green Arrow is the head of an organization that basically runs a lot of tech, and his Green Arrow suit is very advanced in its technology. Even the arrows are energy-based. And he has his friend Diggle with him. But both characters have been having dreams of each other over the years. So Oliver on Green Arrow Point 1 Earth builds a rocket ship conveniently shaped like an arrow to teleport him between worlds to find this mystery woman that he keeps dreaming about. Meanwhile, Black Canary wakes up a little late after having another dream about this mysterious green man that she keeps seeing, and is on her way to a crime scene that Oracle has told her about. She ends up at the crime scene, but it is none other than Barbara Gordon there to kind of give her an intervention about all these dreams she's been having and how they are leading to an apocalypse-level event. Just as she kind of fights against Barbara and Oracle and says, "There's nothing wrong here, you do not need to arrest me," she fights out, crashes through a window while she gets shot at by other police, she's getting chased after by Barbara, just as the Green Arrow rocket goes through a portal between worlds and arrives to Black Canary. They recognize each other at the same time. She screams. He says, "I'll always find you, pretty bird." And then the two worlds begin to break apart. Pariah finds Green Arrow and Black Canary floating in space. Their worlds are now dead. Pariah makes the realization that the reason their two worlds cannot coexist separately is because Green Arrow and Black Canary have a bigger connection than any of the other Justice Leaguers. Therefore, he must sever that connection. Maybe since Oliver Queen was killed by Doomsday, he'll just let him die. Black Canary says no. We'll always find a way to be together no matter what. There's got to be another way. So Pariah decides to bring them together in one world, and that brings us to the world we saw at the beginning of this issue, with the cloud in the middle and the city on one end, forest on the other. That's one big happy circle. We go back at the end of the issue to see them embracing in that final kiss. Sans Bard Oliver. God, I miss Ollie leading a book. I really do. I wish there was a Green Arrow ongoing. This, honestly, makes me want it so much more. Of all the tie-ins so far, this might be my favorite. I like that the backup and the main story had a much bigger connection. And while they kind of said that, one part was supposed to be Green Arrow-centric and the other part was supposed to be Black Canary-centric, it really wasn't. It was one big story. I like that. And it brought more to the Worlds Without a Justice League part of Dark Crisis in a way that stays true to the characters, more so than any of the other tie-ins did so far. And again, great fucking worlds. I hope we get to see them again. 8.5 out of 10. Art was fantastic. Story was really good. I just really want another Green Arrow book, man.
Yes. Heavily echo that last point. It's been too long. It's been 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Was that last one
2018?
Was it 2018 or 2019? Oh God, I don't even know.
One of those two, I think.
I want to say it was 2019, but I will double check that. But yeah, no, I'm right there with you. It's just great to have Green Arrow focused story again, or it will be nice to have one again. Uh, for this story at least, I have been a lot more positive on some of these Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League tie-ins than I thought I would be. This one, I will say, is good, fun, but I don't know. It was a little. I felt like I needed something more. I kind of wanted something more out of it. Like I don't know what necessarily it was. So don't ask me to elaborate on what that exactly means. But I feel like it was just kind of missing something, and I can't really put my finger on it at the moment. But aside from that, decent fun and definitely an enjoyable concept. It's always nice seeing the parallels between Ollie and Robin Hood, and this one they really ran with it, which was a lot of fun. I don't entirely understand the ending and what that was meant to be. I know that in the backup they kind of talked about all the different versions of Ollie and Dinah that kept fracturing. So I assume this is one of those that somehow survived, but I don't really understand how that's possible if these worlds kept exploding. So I don't really know what that was meant to be. And it was a little.
Do you mean the last page?
Yeah, the one where we see like the old Bard Ollie.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't really
Yeah,
understand what was
because
up with
I was
Bard Ollie.
when they like when they show like that spread of like all the different versions that Pariah has made. You see
Yeah,
that version in them, but I'm just like, how does he still exist? Like, shouldn't he have
yeah.
exploded with the rest of them? Um, but stupid video game humor. Jesus. I can't believe I just said that. Um, like 12 years old again. But aside from that, it's fun enough. So I gave this one a 7.75. Some weird things that I didn't understand aside, it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
As for the backup, I think that one was probably the tighter one. And I think we all kind of knew, like, oh yeah, Dinah's gonna make some kind of secret deal with Pariah. But what is that ultimately going to mean? And I kind of expected it was going to be like they were definitely playing it up. It wasn't really going to be that serious. And once we actually got it, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of right in that regard. Like, it's not like something that's going to have major or maybe it will. I don't know, but at least for me, I didn't get the sense this is going to have like some major ramifications down the line. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, I made a deal to preserve Ollie's life, and that's it. But it's not like I sacrificed my soul or something. So I wasn't disappointed. I was kind of expecting that sort of lukewarm reveal. So the backup got a 7. I'd say the whole book probably got like a 7.5. So not bad at all. But definitely could have been a little bit more. Probably one of the weaker of the Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League times we've had so far, at least for me.
The first part had good art. It was an okay story, and it was kind of cool seeing all of the archers together. But the whole fucking thing was predictable, especially putting Ollie as Robin of Locksley. And I'm also not sure why there were 380 different Olivers with one pretending to be Raven, but it was okay, I guess. Second part, seriously, the ugliest fucking version of Doomsday I've ever seen outside of Batman versus Superman. Other than that, the second part was boring and convoluted at the same time, which confuses me, and that's not good. Again, the art was okay, but the second part, the art was not my cup of tea. I would love to see a monthly Green Arrow book. This one made me doubt that for a minute. 6 out of 10.
Fair enough. I will say, as a final point, it was very exciting to see Mia Dearden again. I can't even remember the last time we've seen Mia Dearden
Yeah.
as a partner of Ollie, as one of the Arrow family. So my hope is that this is something that they'll kind of translate into the upcoming Green Arrow stuff, because I know they've been teasing it a lot. Because Mia was always a cool character, and I hope they can find a way to incorporate her back into the Arrow family properly with the books moving forward.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll bring back Kevin Smith to write Green Arrow. I know he wouldn't, but I'm having fun imagining that.
That would be interesting.
I would read the
Although,
fuck out
although,
of it.
according
At
to
least he'd care about the characters.
yeah, according to I don't know. I don't watch He-Man. I never did. It's something
Something
that has
wrong with you.
no interest to me. Well, it's just it was before my time, so I never had any interest there. But I, apparently there's some drama there or something. So maybe Green Arrow's off the table. Maybe his writing skills are being called into question. I don't know.
Oh,
I
it's
don't even know
because he made
exactly what
Tila
the
gay.
story is. Oh, okay. I don't even know who that is.
That's
So
why.
I can't. It's not like I can have any perspective.
It's really just a lot of OG He-Man fans saying this
Oh,
ain't my He-Man.
Bunch of
I
fucking idiots.
guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I I don't know enough about He-Man to have any kind of opinion.
I mean,
So,
it's the same thing as any kind of other comic book character. Somebody comes in
uh,
and wants to make sure that nothing ever fucking changes,
Yeah.
which is admittedly how we got DC Comics in the shape that it is today, where nothing is ever going to matter.
oh my god.
There's no
Well, I see.
ramifications, there's no consequences to any story arc anymore.
I
And
see
then
we're in a.
they take the biggest character, they take the biggest character in DC, Superman, and they gave it to Joshua fucking Williamson, who has completely flubbed Infinite Frontier, completely flubbed Dark Crisis. All of this has been complete shit. The last third of Robin was complete shit. 5 years of Flash, complete shit. He hasn't done anything good in DC in a long time. And I know Brandon can't stand it when I go on about this, but they're just it's one fuck up after another. First, let's get rid of 5G. Now we're going to do this Infinite Frontier stuff where we tell you and we promise you everything matters. But as it turns out, nothing does.
And on that cheery note, we will now go to our commercial break. Um, so we will be back shortly. Stay tuned. And we're back, and we're going to kick it off with our first book for the main reviews, Batgirls number 11. This is brought to us from the usual suspects, though not in any crime sense of the word. Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad on our story, with art from Neil Gouge, or Googe, I don't know, you figure it out, with inks from Scott Godlewski, as well as finishes, and additional inks from Wayne Foucher, colors from Rico Renzi, and letters from Becca Carey. So with the battalion that put together this book, it has to be something of serious quality, but I guess we will have to find out. So the Hill Ripper is still there, is still out there, and our Batgirls are on the case trying to track down just who the killer might be. Over in the GCPD's office, Commissioner Montoya is trying to figure out what the hell to do, and one of the officers, Brooks, comes in and informs her that this is a case that they just can't solve themselves, because apparently the police are so incompetent that they cannot find this killer on their own, and they need the Batmen to bail them out, or Batgirls, as the Batgirl, or specifically the Barbara Gordon Batgirl, is the one who shows up when Officer Brooks decides to break protocol and call one of the Batgirls, asking for her help specifically. We're going to take a little break from that, however, to cut over to the Gotham City Zoo, where Steph and Cass are taking a much needed rest and are going to meet up with some. Or not. Or we'll never know what they're going to do next, because our dear friend Rob has left us again.
I'm sure it's just a connection issue. He
You,
should be back shortly.
do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, he'll be
Okay.
back.
Okay. Yeah, so our oh, he's back, folks, so I can continue. I hope you weren't in suspense for too long. But our Batgirls, as I said, are meeting up with some friends, or maybe more, as Kyle and Maps Mitsuguchi show up to assist with whatever they're doing at the zoo. But really, it's just Maps and Cass who are going on their little adventure, while Kyle and Steph bond, with quotation marks around the word bond, because if this is flirting, it's the most awkward and just not even flirting that ever was. But the attention, or at least our attention, whoa, let me try that again. Our attention should be shifted towards Maps and Cass, who decided to go underground, try and check out some of the bats. But as they make their way into the mysterious bat caves, they don't find a bat hanging around. They find a moth, which is frankly very disappointing. But I guess it's good for Cass and good for the rest of them. Cass puts on her cowl and works to free Killer Moth, which would raise some eyebrows in normal circumstances, but rest assured the captions have us covered and let us know that Cass planted Fido on Killer Moth as a tracker so they could catch up with him later. Steph and Cass later rendezvous, and Cass informs Steph that she placed Fido on the tracker, which will allow them to follow the location of Killer Moth. They do so, making their way across the hill to a creepy old mansion, or creepy old house, or something like that, owned by a woman named Hattie Elwood, or used to be owned by a woman named Hattie Elwood. Though, as they later find out, she is dead, completely hollowed out, like Norma from Bates Motel, or Psycho, I guess. And they find out that the mysterious puppet master behind the entire thing may or may not be Grace O'Halloran, except at the last moment, a surprise reveal. It's not Grace. It is none other than our dear friend Edward Nygma, who looks to have killed Killer Moth, but he may just be indisposed. We're not entirely sure. And informs our Batgirls that they've walked right into his trap, asking them to solve his newest riddle: why were the Batgirls buried in Gotham Cemetery? The answer to that riddle is actually at the end of this issue, but I won't spoil it for you, dear reader. You can find out for yourself, although if you're of average intelligence, you can probably figure it out. I thought it was pretty fun. I mean, I'm still not in love with this art from Neil Gouge, but I'm at least interested in the story, and I was happy to see that that Steph was like, yeah, no. I'm not doing any of that romance, and it was like, thank you, girl. You deserve so much better than this boring ass man, Kyle. If you're gonna be paired with anyone, please don't let it be the most boring character from Gotham Academy. But aside from that, it was really fun, and a very wholesome moment between Steph and Cass, where they're like, I thought it was fun, but I'm always having fun with I'm with you, Steph, or something to that effect, which I thought was very sweet. Always nice when you get those friendship moments, especially in a book like this. So yeah, I don't know, it's just fun, and I'm hoping it keeps the energy going. See what happens next. So see who's really behind these Hill murders, whether it is Riddler or someone else, or some mysterious third party that we don't even know. So this one got an 8 out of 10 for me. I had a lot of fun.
Maps is just adorable.
Maps is the
I want
best.
more of this character.
Maps is the only reason you should read Gotham Academy. No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
There's other reasons, but she's easily the best character. Easily.
I really need to read Gotham Academy.
Yes.
My goodness.
So fun. There's an issue. I don't want to spoil too much, but she teams up. Actually, there's 2 issues where she teams up with Damian. Damian is at Gotham Academy for a day. I won't spoil why, but if you read it, you'll figure it out. And they are like just the best duo.
Oh, I could see that. Oh, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I gotta get into this book.
Yeah.
As for this book, though, I'm loving how much better it got. At least for me. I understand other people might have different opinions about this book, but for me, it's exactly what I've been hoping for. What I was looking for when this was announced, and what I was asking for 2-3 years ago. So this is much better. The art's improved, the writing's improved, the story is more interesting. It doesn't have to be bogged down by an overarching plot that is contrived and boring and nobody really asks for. It's just telling stories it wants to tell, and that's all it needs to do. And I'm so happy about that, because we just need the Batgirls to work together. And it's good in my books.
All the world needs.
Exactly. Maybe Maps could be a Batgirl one day too. Big dreams. Who knows? Where's this guy? I'm getting confused with the next book. Great. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. Rather enjoyed it. I look forward to see where this goes. I don't think Riddler's the be-all end-all, though. That seems a little too obvious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we still have the whole Mr. Fun angle, so I imagine there's definitely more, that we still need to learn about who's behind all the murders and stuff. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how it all ties together.
I'm thinking Clue Master.
Oh my god, is he dead? Or wait, no, he was. I don't even remember.
I'm thinking he's dead
Nobody's
too,
dead.
but I don't put any weight to that anymore.
Yeah. Well, because like I vaguely remember him being alive in I want to say Young Justice, but I don't even remember. That book was like
Who knows?
3 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Literally every book is getting meta and making jokes about how nobody really dies.
Oh wait, okay, wait,
Yeah.
hold up. Actually, and this is gonna make you so mad, but I'm hoping it'll at
Uh-huh.
least put a smile on your face because you seem a little dour today. But at the Superman panel, and I don't want to derail it too much, but on the subject of death, at the Superman panel, and you can actually find this in the transcripts that are online. Williamson made a joke. He's just like, I mean, look, we all know the Justice League are coming back. Like, it's no secret, and everyone in the audience had like kind of a weak laughter, but it was like the kind of like exasperated laughter where you're just like, oh my god, dude, come on, like,
Just stop.
like just stop,
Yeah.
just stop, please, please just stop.
Right? Because literally,
Yeah.
so fucking sick of him.
I thought that was funny, but not for him.
No, it's
Everyone's just like,
not funny. He's literally admitting to what he does not matter, and he thinks it's cute. If that was literally any other job, he'd be fired in a heartbeat. Imagine that as a restaurant worker or a factory worker or whatever. You go in, you set up your machine, you got all your parts ready to put shit on, and then you walk. You never press the button to go.
I mean,
Anyway,
I'd be pretty upset if my waiter told me at the restaurant, "Yeah, we all know the cow's not really dead." I'm like, "Wait, what?"
yeah, exactly.
I
But as
want
far as
cooked.
Batgirl goes, the art in here, it's not my bag. Like always, it's a little bit less quality to me than the previous arc. The story is a little bit better quality than the previous arc. Um, I need this book to get traction. I mean, the art is where it's at, and this is the direction that they want to put on Batgirls. It ain't fucking Riley Rosmo, so I can deal with it. I guess my problem with Batgirls is it just feels like a story I'm reading. I forget about it. It's there, and I'm like, oh, cool, Batgirls. But I can't remember I don't know that I've looked forward to an issue since I heard that it was beginning. I looked forward to number one, but the rest of them have been just there. I thought about going lower in the score, but I don't hate it. It's like a coaster sitting on your end table you just never fucking use. Kind of boring. I gave it a 6.75 out of 10.
The way
Well,
you
on the
describe that, where it's kind of there. I appreciate the books that I feel like that every month more, because while you have the books you look forward to and your favorite titles, like we all love Nightwing, but we were all enjoying like other books. You put those subconsciously on a pedestal where like you're excited for it and you expect more out of it. But when you have those books that you just like you're not upset that it's here, but you're not necessarily looking forward to it, and then it's good. It's a pleasant surprise to your day. Like I didn't put any weight to this, but it was pretty good and it made me feel good about it. So good for that.
That's true. You definitely need like your solid like I
Sunday
don't want to say
paper
mid
comics.
tier. I don't want to say
Yeah.
mid tier books, but like books that you know are going to be consistent at the very least.
Yeah.
And like yeah,
I
that
could
was, that
read
was a solid
Garfield
read.
and not spend fucking $4 on it.
Well, I don't think Garfield is nearly as entertaining as our Batgirls,
Like,
but that's
how
just
much are
personal opinion.
newspapers in your neck of the woods? Because it's almost $4 up here.
Is it really?
It's about $4 down here, but you get a whole bunch of comics and actual.
That's
Anyway,
true.
it's just me being a shit.
It,
I gave it a
newspapers $4?
6.75 out of 10.
Yeah.
Y'all scored it and rated it, yeah.
Yeah. No, I was going to say before I was rudely interrupted. On the subject of books that I wish I could forget, not Batgirls, but maybe some other ones. I figured we could move on to our next one, Wonder Woman 792. Although maybe I'm being a little harsher on this one because honestly, I I don't know that it was one that I wanted to purge from my mind quite as much as previous issues, but I will pass that over to Josh right now.
Written by the same writers, Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad, with art from Marguerite Sauvage, letters from Pat Brageau, and the cover came from Yannick Paquette and Nathan Fairbairn. Diana is still inside Kale Industries' secret lab. Wonder Woman found Cheetah as a full-on cat, rather than how we normally see her. Diana frees her and, promptly gets attacked by Cheetah for doing so. A guard walks in, shoots Barbara with a tranquilizer, then tries to hit Wonder Woman, and that doesn't work out. She tries to interrogate him, but he takes a cyanide pill as the lab initiates a self-destruct sequence. Diana escapes the lab with Cheetah to be followed by more security guards. No worry, the Escazita are there to mow them down and kill as many as possible. Anybody that didn't die ran away for their life. Diana and Mena stay the night in the jungle, sending the rest of the Escazita away in the hopes of being able to get Cheetah to find her humanity and change back to normal. And of course, it's successful. While all of this is going on in Olympus, Phobos and Deimos, who are still incorrectly identified, I might add, there's been no fixing that, are revealed to be the shadowy figures that was appearing on the TVs for Cisco before in the story, and they tell her of the lab that was blown up. Hera couldn't care less, as she is saying that whoever didn't drink the milk and wasn't brainwashed will to worship them will just be squashed under the foot of a god, so to speak. They will be shown fear and as a motivation to worship the gods. A week later, we get a quick peek at Etta and Dal, where we find out that she leaked the story of the milk extra, and it led to the FDA recall of all the milk. Then we go to Checkmate. Etta, Steve, and Siggy are talking about their current events when in walks Cheetah as a member of Checkmate now, looking for revenge, and she's got a pretty cool, almost yoga studio outfit on, and I like it. It looks cool. You can tell Etta and Steve are feeling a little bit of a zoom, zoom, boom, boom as they sip their coffee with sweat running down their brow, before Barbara tells them that Diana had an errand to run, and indeed she did. She answered a call from space from someone she will always answer, good old Clark Kent. There is a backup, but gross. The rest, it's good, even if it is the milk story continued as I thought it would be. I feel like it's going to be dragged out because it's Cloonan and Conrad. We're going to get at least another 4 or 5 fucking issues of this shit. I'm glad to see that the focus on the milk seems to be over, though. Sauvage is never gonna be my favorite artist. To me, when she submits art, it looks like a computer drawing where somebody is trying to make it look like it's pencil, and it just doesn't work for me. It's not bad, but the style just this is like the weirdest way to describe something, but dreamy, wishy-washy, squishy art.
I don't even know what that means. I get the
I don't know
part.
either,
I
but it's just
means,
it's soft and bright and vibrant at the same time, and it feels like it's going in a couple of different directions. It's not bad. It's just not for me, and at times it was distracting from the story as I flipped a panel or flipped a page or moved to a panel. Ultimately, it really wasn't bad, and it is better than the milk issues that we had leading up to this. Now let's get into some warfare with the gods already. All of the tribes versus Olympus. Yes, please. This issue I gave a 7 out of 10.
Very nice. I'm on the opposite side of you. Surprise, surprise. In terms of art. I sometimes have enjoyed some of Marguerite Sauvage's stuff. Sometimes it can be a little um, not as good. I'm searching for the words.
Is
I
it
think
dreamy,
when it's
wishy
in,
washy, squishy?
it is nothing near that, my friend. I don't know where the fuck that came from. But I think when it's in a certain place, in a certain corner, it can work really well. And I think that worked exceptionally well in the scenes with Diana and Cheetah in particular. Especially the last couple pages where Diana is flying off into space to meet up with Clark. Just I thought that looked gorgeous. Um, but yeah, aside from that, not a bad issue by any means. Definitely more of a focus on Diana and Cheetah and the Escacita, and Holy Wonder Pants. I don't know where that came from. Um, I, 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 I was kind of confused because I was like,
Yeah.
am I? Is this like part of the hallucination or I'm a hallucin? I don't know. I don't think it's a bad design. I actually think it looks kind of cool, but it just kind of appeared out of nowhere. So maybe that's some design that will come back in the future. Who knows? But yeah, aside from that, kind of fun, I would say. Kind of enjoyable. So I gave this one an 8 out of 10 as well.
Cool. Oh wait,
Yeah,
I didn't give it an 8 out of 10.
Hmm.
No, that costume was a little odd, like at least oddly placed, because I was also kind of confused by it. Like, what the hell's going
Like
on here? The
what
pants
the
were a nice
what the
touch,
fuck?
but
Like what happened?
it also kind of just looked weird at the same time. I don't know. There was something about it. I didn't love, like, it was missing something. Um, but I didn't hate it. And then
Hmm.
it just disappeared later on. She went back to her more modern costume. So I don't know what's going on there. It's very confusing, but we'll see where it goes. Um, I thought the art was great. I rather enjoyed it. The story is definitely better than we've had more recently. I hope it stays this good, or even better. Just don't go back to Doctor Psycho. That's not
So
worth
we're
it.
done.
Um, my biggest pull from this is, if I'm looking at it right, is Hera pulling a Belle Delphine and bathing in the milk and selling it to,
No.
like, thirsty
Oh,
boys.
why do you know this? Ugh.
That was all over the internet for like a
Uh,
good 2 months.
Shoot,
You
man.
couldn't surf the internet and not see that news.
Oh, I remember. God, I wish I didn't, but I do.
Yeah, I don't know.
The
That's what
sad
it
part
looked
is
like
that
to
people
me.
actually bought that shit.
Yeah, she made a killing off that.
Oh my god.
That's uh, some people. But that's what it, at least to me, that's what it looked like in that panel where she's talking to Phobos and Deimos. It looked like she was
God.
bathing in milk. And if she's the mastermind behind the International Milk Company, is that what it's called? Then
Something like that, yeah.
who knows? There's definitely some godly stuff going on in that milk. I'm thinking it might even be some kind of ambrosia. I don't know.
In the milk, the
Or
mind control shit was from those flowers that were in the secret lab.
oh
I
yeah,
think
that's right.
I think she's
Mm.
just taking a bath. I think that's all that is.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know.
Dude.
It's I can't wait to get past the milk stuff and just get back to gods. Um, that's what I look forward to in Wonder Woman is the god stuff. I don't know. I've always loved mythology, and this is kind of weird. I give it an 8.5 though. Still, apart from the milk stuff, the rest of it was kind of enjoyable. I just hope it stays better.
Indeed.
All right. Well, maybe our next title will be fittingly better as we ascend, in a way, to Son of Kal-El, number 16, which I'm going to hand over to Rob.
Right on, good sir. This is part 2 of Kal-El Returns. They brought back I think they called them the Diamond Stories during the Superman panel, and this
Yes,
is
yeah,
the the first story arc in that idea that they did for a while in the late 80s and 90s. with interconnected stories among all the Superman titles. I thought it was a really nice touch. So this issue is brought to us from writer Tom Taylor with art from Kian Tormey and Ruari Coleman. I apologize if I butchered your first name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ruari.
I said Ruari,
okay.
but
Ruari
don't trust
Ruari.
this fucking
It's as messed up as trying to
Americanized-
say rural.
Yeah, don't trust this fucked up Americanized California tongue.
Who knows? Anyway, colors from Romulo Fajardo Jr., letters from Dave Sharp, and a wonderful, very nice cover from Travis Moore and Tamara Bonvillain, as is the status quo, I would say. So we pick up in the past, where John was still a little boy. I imagine the attendants of the Superman panel would be ecstatic about that. Where he first...
I'm not people are gonna think I'm making this up. I'm really not.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I see enough talk on Reddit of people just screaming for Young John again. And as much as I miss Young John, it's too late to go back. It's like bringing Alfred back to life. Just don't do it.
I was ambivalent. I was like, okay, whatever. Like at this point, there's really nothing you can do. Like let's just move forward.
It's happened.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do to change it now. Yeah.
There is.
There is, but it shouldn't happen.
They don't. They don't care. They just don't care.
Yeah. I'm okay with stories going into the past. Like we have Super Sons. If Tomasi wants to do more Super Sons stories, that's cool. But don't make it the status quo. Let's just have some stories in the past. That's fine.
Yeah, but again, whether or not Young John is coming back, that's all speculation. That could just be some Chandler nonsense.
I mean, if we're getting a backup that focuses on Young John, and we're losing the main title of John, then I'm going to say that means Young John is back.
Yeah, I mean, because again, the mini is coming out, and whether that leads to bigger things or not is totally unclear. Because that could, very easily lead to another ongoing. Who knows?
I tell you what, if Rick Moranis shows up in the fucking first issue, you know exactly what's going to happen.
What? What does that have to do with anything?
Honey, I Shrunk the Superman.
Oh my god. I mean, as entertaining as that would be, somehow I don't think that's going to happen.
And then Rick Moranis appears in Poison Ivy.
Oh god.
And then
he's like,
Rick Moranis
appears
in some next Justice League Dark backup.
No, he sees Deadman and he's like, "Oh my god, it's Gozer again."
He heads up the Justice League space in the search for more money.
Justice League United returns, and he shows up in a toque and a hat and a beer. With his brother, Dave Thomas.
Yes. Rick Moranis has not had any love in a long time, and he has had a really rough life. Let's get him back out there in comics.
Yes. Hey, he's coming back. He's making a return. I'm all for it. That man is a treasure.
Me too.
If you were not familiar with Bob and Doug McKenzie, you were missing out.
Shut up, you fucking hoser.
Anyway.
What's that all
What the hell was I going to say?
Superman, Son of Jal-El, number 16.
Yeah. I was going to say, though, if anyhow friggin' DC pulls a reboot season 3 and we have both Old John and Young John together at the same time, like they had Enzo and Matrix, I don't know if only Canadian kids will get this reference. You guys are very silent.
No, Reboot was down here too.
Oh, okay.
And it's on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken.
What the fuck? It's on Netflix?
I think so. My kids have seen it.
Shit. I don't know. I don't think we have it on Netflix, which seems really weird.
Oh, I mean, let's just use Netflix as a synonym for streaming services, like everybody has with Kleenex and facial tissue.
Oh yeah, I was about to say.
I mean, even that, I had to buy the series on DVD to watch it again. I don't think it's on any streaming service up here. I don't know. Canadians miss out on all the good shit, even Canadian stuff.
Damn it.
It's true. They'll
Anyway,
film
let's
shows
talk
in
about
Canada.
Johnny Boy, shall we?
I was
Yes.
gonna say they'll film shows in Canada that they don't even release in Canada.
That's
Didn't they
it.
do that with Titans? Wasn't Titans filmed in like
Yes.
Toronto?
It's
And it
filmed
took
in
like
Toronto
like
every
3
season,
years.
and we
Yeah.
don't get it until like a month after the entire series is aired.
Oh, that
in
is
the
so
US.
funny.
I think at the very least, the home city should get to watch it first.
They're just exploiting you for your cities and your landscapes. They're not
I've
actually
yet to
appreciating
finish
you.
season 3 because I knew the entire fucking story before we got the first episode, and I just don't care anymore.
That is tragic.
It's so stupid, but again, I digress. Son of Kal-El is having some issues as a boy. In the past, when he was really young, his super hearing started to develop, and Clark, in his classic, if you remember, black and silver costume during that brief period after convergence, during that Superman and Lois and title Clark.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Also by
it
Dan
was like an
Jurgens and
8-issue
Roots.
mini. Yeah, it was a great freaking mini. I loved it. To help him focus his super hearing into something a little more easier to manage, and John focuses on his father's heartbeat, which calms him down and quiets everything else in the world. And then we jump into the future. He's waking up, realizing it's been months since he last heard his father's heartbeat, and he misses him. So he gets dressed, kind of half dressed. He's wearing a Superman shirt, but also wearing sweatpants. I guess also kind of following in his father's footsteps if you read Grant Morrison's Action Comics in the New 52.
Well, following in his brother's footsteps, like Connor. Kind of looks like Connor for a second there.
Yeah, I've never actually thought of them that they could be actually kind of like brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Though that raises a clone question: is your clone your son or your sibling?
That's a whole other can of worms.
Sibling, right? I mean,
sibling, because if it's your clone, it has 100% of your DNA. If it's your child, it only has half of it. So I mean, Matt, it's like asking which came first, the chicken or the egg.
He's half Clark, half Lex, so he does only have half of Clark's DNA.
So he's more Uncle Connor than Bro Connor.
Second cousin twice removed. How about that? Why don't we just roll with that?
Yeah.
How about it's complicated? Let's leave it at that. If he shows up to school and he's like,
that is way
guy?
too Facebook.
Yeah, he's like
brother.
It's complicated.
It's the uncle brother. We're just gonna call it Jerry Springer.
Facebook. Oh God.
You are not the father.
I always prefer Maury. Yeah.
That's more Maury.
Oh God.
Clark Kent.
Daytime television.
Oh God, Clark Kent.
Daytime television was enough to keep me going to school.
It's like Clark and Lex. They're both on an episode of Maury, and Connor's there, and he's like, "All right, now we need to find out if you are the father." It's both.
Clark is the father, and Lex just jumps up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I told you. I told those fucks at Star Labs, his kid was not mine. I'm not paying shit in alimony.
I haven't got paid no alimony.
Yeah.
Oh shit! We need like just one issue of DC characters doing trash TV.
So funny.
Just one issue. We've had enough comic books recently. We just need one.
They should do a spoof of that with. Well, I mean, it's too late at this point, but I was thinking of like the Batman versus Deathstroke arc they had, where it was like they didn't know if Damian was Deathstroke's kid or Batman's kid, and I wasn't thinking it at the time, but now I'm just like, damn, that would have been a great episode of Maury.
Yeah. I don't know about great because both are very quiet and brooding.
I'm imagining this version of Slade is very, very like open, and once he finds out that he's not the father, he just like is like, yeah, let's go get drunk, Wintergreen.
I feel like that clone question is a very obvious answer, except when you ask it to people like the whole which came first, the chicken or the egg. Most people are like, ha ha ha, real funny. There's no answer to that. But there is, because lizards existed before chickens.
There you go.
Yep.
So
But
the
did
egg came
lizards
first.
give birth to chickens? Like, where did chickens
Yes.
come from?
That's where the evolution comes into play, my friend.
But where did the lizard egg come from?
Dinosaurs.
But where did the
Where
dinosaur
did
egg
dinosaur egg
come
come from? How far back can we go?
Yeah.
The dinosaur eggs
it's like
came from dinosaurs, and then the
it's like the
dinosaurs
child who
came
keeps
from
asking questions.
space dust. Yeah, it's all why.
Yeah, why?
Wait,
I don't have kids,
wait.
but I know that's.
Wait
I know
for
that's
it,
what kids are
Rob.
like. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't. I can. I can totally wait.
You can wait for that part, trust me.
Oh, I definitely. if I get that, I'm handing her over to Angela. Here, mommy.
Oh,
can
it's
answer that
gonna
question.
last for like a year, dude.
She knows all the answers.
If
Like,
I
hey dad,
learned
hey
anything-
dad, what are you doing? I'm looking for my car keys. Why?
Why?
Because I
It's like-
need to go to the store. Why? Because we need to do some grocery shopping. Why?
Oh god.
Yeah, it never stops. But you have to answer them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've interrupted you like a million times. in
Yeah,
the
we
middle
have
of
not
this
talked
fucking
at all
comic
about
book.
Son of Kal-El. We've really
I,
been
I
buried
am on
at this
page
one.
7, and we've gone on like 3 tangents. This
Oh
is
my God.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe I can actually get past the intro into the title
Maybe.
card. Yeah, John wakes up and he goes to see his mother, still awake. She's been awake all night, so awake all night that her coffee from the night before has gone cold. As John points that out, she was working hard writing, but as John points out that her coffee's gone cold, she remembers that his father used to reheat it for her every day. She gets a little sad and tells him to be careful because the news is going AWOL with the goings on after the fallout of Gomorrah and everything John did with the revolutionaries. So John just reassures her, "Don't worry, we've got this," and then heats up her coffee, and he heads off to save the world. Before making a quick stop into the just outside the planetary boundaries of our home planet, into space, where he chooses a direction, looks into deep space to see if he can find any sign of his father. Does not, yet he finds some, conveniently, some Dominators looking right back at him, which, that's not a good sign. But he just brushes that off, heads back to Earth, spends the day just helping people all around. He visits a children's hospital, tries to visit 3 children's hospitals every day, and spends some time with some kids that are spending some time in the hospital. Plants a few acres of trees to help reforestation in the Amazon. It says he checks in with the people he loves, and we see some team-ups there. Damien's there. Jay is there. And then he comes across a shipwreck, I think a bridge collapse. There's all sorts of stuff going on. Volcano explosion, museum fire, and then he makes a quick pit stop to the man whose arm he broke maybe 5-6 issues ago when he tried to save him, but his powers are going AWOL thanks to the Gamora Corps and Henry Bendix. He takes a look at the arm. The arm is fine, but it is healing well. It's not fine, but it's healing well. And he wanted to apologize. He's been trying to get there for a while, but he's been really busy. And he says, if there's anything you need, anything at all, just let me know. And the guy asks, there's one thing, just sign my cast. He goes to play fetch with Crypto and visit his family. Sees Ma Kent's, and once again heats up Lois's coffee, and then visits Lex Luthor. Bum, bum, bum.
Whoa.
He tries to goad out any information he can from Lex, but Lex is not giving him anything. There was a robbery at a police department in Metropolis. Some LexCorp equipment was taken from the evidence locker. Lex is not too thrilled about that, but knows nothing about it, and John confirms that by the lack of accelerated heartbeats, besides the fact that maybe lying is just that easy for Lex. But that just then, John hears an explosion off in the distance, It is Straker's Island prison, and John rushes in to figure out what's going on. He goes to protect a guard from fire surrounding them, but is then attacked by said guard with an electrostick, and finds out that the guard is actually being controlled by the Ultra Humanite, whose uh, bonds were broken in the explosion, and the psychic field dampeners were damaged. So John uses super speed, gets around Ultra Humanite because he can apparently move faster than thought. He gets not just around Ultra Humanite's arms, but also his brain power. Reattaches all the power dampeners together and fixes everything, and puts the dampener back on Ultra Humanite. And then the guards come to, now free from Ultra Humanite's control, to tell John that the explosion was not meant to free Ultra Humanite, it was actually meant to free Metallo. But then. Metallo? I always said metal.
I don't. I have no idea. My brother pronounces it Metallo. Yeah. I pronounce it Metallo. So we fought over that since we were children.
I used to say Metallo, but then I was like Metallo. I just kind of convinced myself it was Metallo. I don't know.
Yeah.
Metallo sounded
I may have just started doing that shit because my brother was arguing with me. I was like, fuck you.
Fair enough.
Who knows?
Typical.
Brandon, what do you say?
I always said Metallo.
Yeah.
I didn't even know people said Metallo.
I could be wrong.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I did have a friend as a child who pronounced it Rogu, the member of the X-Men.
Oh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah. So if that makes you feel any better, I don't have the slightest idea.
That makes me want to blow up the world. That's so
bruh, trust me. I was like looking at him. I'm like, do you know how many quarters go into $1, son?
I know.
I mean,
did you read? How did you get
no,
this
he
far
called.
in school?
He looked right at me and go, "That is Rogu." And I'm like, "That is not Rogu. That is nothing like Rogu. Go take that to your teacher and ask her. He wouldn't do it."
She's
my favorite.
Right.
My favorite Star Wars video game, Rogu Squadron. Played it all the time.
Right?
Loved it so much.
Yes.
Oh God. I am so going to pronounce it like that just once and see what people say. It's like saying bagel over bagel. It's
bagel.
Like bagel looks like that's how it should be pronounced, but it's so not right.
Does anyone actually say bagel, or was that just in that episode of Community?
No, I've actually heard like people have never watched Community actually say bagel.
Are you serious?
Yeah, if you over in there in Boston, don't they pronounce it bagel?
I've never heard that before. I've heard bagel,
not in Boston?
But I've never heard bagel. Yeah, nah.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know. The English language is weird and complicated.
That is disappointing.
Yeah. Anyway, just after that, John hears another sound in the distance, and he flies up into the sky, completely interrupting Ultra Humanite's monologue. But it's not that important anyway. He flies high up into the sky, still hearing the thoughts of what the guard was saying and talking down to him, calling him a freak and an alien, and all the thoughts he could hear from people around the world thanks to the Ultra Humanite. But it all gets drowned out by a faint heartbeat that he hears in the sky as he flies directly into Clark's arms with a sound that would shatter windows. And they share a hug, a very loving embrace with their flowing capes in the sky. It was very nice. And John feels safe yet again. Then we cut away to the last page, a mystery character on
Reddit.
You could, it could be Reddit. Who knows? Yeah,
That's what I
was going to
thought.
say the Intelligentsia, but that's She-Hulk on Marvel. It's not DC with Superman. Sorry. Some people that are basically just talking down John's actions with Gamora, and then one person named Red Sin, the screen name Red Sin, says, "I can do something about this." He thinks he's special. I can make him less special. And we see the missing LexCorp equipment from the evidence locker glowing red with the name Red Sin. You can only imagine something red is going to happen. Probably red kryptonite. I know that's always had varying degrees of efficacy, or like whatever the hell it does, depending on who's writing it or what world it is. What does it do in this world? Does it take away the powers? I don't know.
That's what I remember.
Okay.
Or is that
I always get
Red
confused
Sun?
with Smallville, which just made them an asshole.
No, Red Sun. The replacing it with a red sun gives him back the same kind of sun that he had on Krypton that removes his powers. Traditionally speaking, the red kryptonite will either A, make him incredibly angry and unpredictable, or the other option, make his powers uncontrollable. They zip in and out of strength, and they amplify and they decrease, and he has no control over them like that. Traditionally speaking.
Yeah.
It's too complicated. I say just do away with the
there's pink kryptonite,
kryptonite.
there's silver kryptonite, there's black kryptonite, there's all kinds of kryptonite.
Well, let's just have the green kryptonite and be done with it.
Yeah.
Simplify.
We don't need a kryptonite core.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or do we?
Oh my God. Is that the next story? Guys, write this down.
We're calling it now.
Exactly.
Yeah, so as for this, I like how this really shows off how much John has truly stepped into the role of Superman. He's embraced it. He does it really well. He does all the stops that he needs to make and just shows off to the world that he's here for them and can do this job. Beyond that, it was just a nice issue. Very simple plot, to the point, not much going on. Keeps up with the overall arc of the Superman books that's going on in the world. And if they keep up with these diamond stories like they used to, that this could very well turn into another great era for Superman. It's gonna.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you again. Williamson is gonna take over Superman, no matter how diamond the shit gets.
All right.
I mean, as much as I agree with you, I will always wait and see.
Yes.
I'll wait and see.
Yeah. Let's
I'm not too excited about Joshua. I'm excited about Joshua Williamson taking over Superman as much as I was excited about Bendis taking over Superman, which was not excited at all. But I will still wait and see, because sometimes people can surprise you.
Yeah.
I believe anything can happen, and I'm really hoping that anything can happen here. We'll see.
My next one will be better.
Yes, after 7 or 8 years of not doing that, that's probably going to happen.
No one's going to get that, but it was for me.
That sounds familiar. What's that a reference to?
It's an Ed Wood reference, where he's like, my next movie will be better.
Yeah.
That's another great movie.
But yeah, this issue was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. 9 out of 10. I'm sad to see this story go soon. 2 more issues.
Yes, this was a fun one for me, at least. But I don't know. I think because I read this after the news came out that the series would be coming to an end, I kind of felt a little deflated reading this one, because I know that they're getting the follow-up series next, and certainly that will have important ramifications for John in the future. At least I hope so. But I don't know, like, just it feels like I'm kind of like, now that I know that the series is coming to an end, I'm like biding my time, and I'm just like, okay, how's it going to end at 18? Is it going to be satisfying? And I shouldn't do that. I know I shouldn't, because I mean, hopefully it's an enjoyable ride. I mean, I know the pacing had been kind of whack, at least for me, and for some others, but hopefully when you read it all as one story, it can be more enjoyable, which I certainly plan to do. But I don't know, like, just knowing that the series it has like 3 issues left, or 2 now. I feel like I kind of got deflated in my excitement in reading this. So as enjoyable as it was, it kind of feels like I'm just waiting for it to end and see what the next step is going to be with Adventures of Superman. So I don't know. It's not bad by any means, but I'm not really sure how to feel just yet, until we kind of get those next important steps. So This one got a 7.5 out of 10 for me.
All right. Well, I think this is great art as always. It always does. I would like to see Connor start calling himself Superman and Kara as well. If we could get Crypto to change his name to Superman, that would be great. This issue is seriously slow moving to me. Well, I mean, if we're gonna have, what are we gonna? What are we? If Clark Kent is Superman and Jonathan Kent is Superman, I mean,
maybe we can maybe we can have a title called Supermen with all the Supermen, and it'll get canceled after 6 issues.
Yeah,
yeah,
but it'll be
that
built
sounds
and
about
going.
right.
Yeah. I would really like that.
Yeah.
And a freak turn for the Son of Kal-El, because I've never rated an issue below an 8.25. This was seriously slow moving for me. I get that it's a setup issue for what's coming next, and
Where's
was
Josh go? Is he here today?
it was cool to see him heating Lois's coffee. I mean, that is some old school Superman shit that I loved and I recognized it. That's about it though. I'm not trying to shit on the book. It was just a setup issue. There was literally nothing going on except a bunch of pages that to me show why we shouldn't make him young again. Except for this, whoever this Red Sin is supposed to be. And I can't help but wonder if all that is the development of a Reb Kryptonite version of Metallo. But then again, I don't read solicits, so who fucking knows? For this issue, a slow setup kind of doesn't go anywhere. 6.75 out of 10.
Man, you gave a lower score than me. You're like some strange alien. I will say, as a final point, as a final point, I don't know if it was an explicit reference, but it just made me think of it. But the scene where John is at Lex's gym, for lack of a better term, and he's like, "Oh, do you lift or Lex, or I almost called him Jeff for some reason."
Would you like a spot?
I don't know if this was a reference to All-Star Superman, but I know that there's that issue where Clark Kent, like the normal Clark Kent, visits Lex, and he's kind of like walking him through his life in prison or something like that, before he ultimately escapes. And in one of those scenes, he's lifting like almost exactly like this, and I think he asks Clark to spot him. And I don't know if that was an explicit reference or if it was Taylor being cheeky or something like that, but it made me think of that.
Given Taylor,
it
probably
really kind of cool. Yeah.
Yep. All right, I guess we move over to the last issue of the week here, Batman versus Robin.
That is correct.
All right, Batman versus Robin number 2, written by Mark Waid, art by Mahmoud Asrar, colors from Jordi Belair. Colors from Jordi Belair, Steve Wands on letters, and Asrar and Nathan Fairbairn did the cover. The Devil Neza has conscripted, like Putin, many magic users to his side and had them mess up plenty of others. Here we have an elemental named Jinx and a dude named Tanarak in Atlantis stealing the mystic gem of Ariane.
Not just some dude. Jinx is, part of the Fearsome Five. The OG Fearsome Five, I should say.
Anyway, they're there to steal the mystical gem of Ariane, which is the portal to the dark world. I can't help if he's pulling a Mark Russell here and just taking a little political sting. If he is, I appreciate the pun, Mr. Wade. But anyway, they get to the gem that meets up with Zor and Clarion, who have retrieved Ragman's soul suit by peeling it off of him literally. I'm mad at being mean to Ragman, and this better not be a permanent thing, but I have a feeling that nothing inside this series is going to really matter to anything outside of the universe, even if there's a fucking spin-off called Planet Lazarus. Anyway, one of my favorite Gotham citizens shows up in this title, and she has been out of the limelight for a very long time. Black Alice is being held by Neza and Mother Soul. Black Alice, if you were unaware, depending on who has written her, has the ability to either copy or steal the powers of any supers near her one at a time. Only problem is sometimes she can't control it, and a lot of that has to do with the pain that it causes. Mother Soul sees Damien while this is happening. Mother Soul sees Damien in the shadows and tells him he need not hide, to which he basically replies he's just not a fan of suffering. Meanwhile, in Kentucky, where Zatanna has transported them to, Batman and Alfred get into it with Faust Sr. before moving on with their journey to the House of Secrets. Another Sandman universe inclusion in the DC universe, who apparently is going to gobble up all of the things that should stay separate. Featuring Cain and Abel, they enter. They quickly see a memory from Damien of his time during the tourney on Lazarus Island, and how him and his associates defeated the Lazarus demon. Alfred and Bruce start being attacked at that time by very, very tiny versions of said Lazarus demon, before they snap out of the hallucination, just to move into another one. They move from the House of Secrets to the House of Mystery and watch a performance by Mother Soul lamenting her Lazarus demon, offering up the origin of the Lazarus pits. Apparently, it was refined from a Chinese elixir of resurrection and immortality mixed with the blood and tears of a grieving father. And I guess that is how they have popped up in random pools and underground caves across the world. Okay. Anyway, Bruce snaps out of that hallucination just to get another one, and then another one after that. We see another Damien memory of him finding the door to Neza that we've seen twice now, and Neza taking control of Damien, instantly recognizing him as the son of his imprisoner, or jailer, I think he says. Anyway, so Batman now recognizes him, seeing the memory of Damien, and remembers how long ago he and Superman took him down, except it was more than just them, but okay. More hallucinations as Damien grows to be about 20 feet tall and lights the house on fire while taunting Batman, who promptly escapes the burning house. Because he's been such a good little boy, Mother Soul gives Damien a present, his Batman 666 outfit, which she calls, and I quote, the ultimate ascension of Damian Wayne into his destined birthright.
Oh, such a phrase.
End quote. Damien puts it on and asks if it comes with accessories, and Mother Soul replies as we turn the page, absolutely. What is a Batman without his Robins? And we see a single splash page of Nightwing, Spoiler, Tim Drake, and Red Hood, all of whom have other stories going on, big stories. Outside, Alfred and Batman discuss that they can't call in Superman because Neza will take him over as well. As well as all the magic users that Neza had taken, Deadman, etc. Alfred vows to be at his side, saying, that's what I'm here for, on another splash. But we see the shadow spilling into the ground in front of Alfred, a shadow in the shape of the Devil Neza. Next up, Island of Death. So I liked about a third of the pages count worth of art. Counting the individual pages or panels up, I liked about a third of the pages if I smushed those good ones onto just a third. I got a hard, rushed 90s feel to the art, and I'm just not about that rushed look. And as someone who loved the idea of the world's finest, even when everybody was hating on it, I really enjoyed that run. I was really looking forward to this series. I'm just not impressed. Both issue 1 and this one feels like they did the top name treatment, saying, hey, dude, write what the fuck ever you want. We'll fix it with caption boxes later, or not, whatever. That's not cool. I'm disappointed. I love Mark Waid, and this does not feel like Mark Waid at all. Batman's voice still sounds like he's in the world's finest days, from from the 60s. Overall, I'm just not impressed with the series. I was supposed to be gushing over. At the very best, I can give this a 6 and a 5.5 without that pun from earlier. That's all I have from this one. So disappointed.
I so want to hate this book, but I just can't. It's I don't know if it's the writing or the pacing or something or I mean I really enjoy Mahmoud Asrar's art. So you know seeing him do a lot of these renditions of DC characters is very fun. But I can't like I would be lying to myself if I said God this book sucks because it doesn't, at least not for me. Like I went in pretty much just like, it's just gonna try and fuck up the status quo of Robin and Batman respectively. But it is chaotic. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It's for me, it's just a lot of fun. But I will say that this man is a liar because I really don't think it's. I really don't think the whole point of this is Robin versus Batman. I think it's just building to this magical conflict and giving Mark Waid an excuse to write all these magic characters that he previously had before, pulling out like all these deep cuts like Tanorak, which I don't think anybody's used Tanorak since like Jeff Lemire's Superboy in 2010, maybe a little bit during the New 52, but I don't remember. And of course Faust and all the characters from the original House of Mystery and House of Secrets anthology, which actually predates the Sandman stuff, which is a misconception that a lot of people have. But
Yeah,
they
well, I
were
mean, it was
originally
pulled
these,
into it.
yeah, yeah, but originally they were anthology characters, and then the one that like made my head spin was seeing the three witches from the Witching Hour, which was like something I hadn't seen probably in years, but I remember it was like one of my first conventions, and I pulled this random issue of the Witching Hour, and it had like a picture of a skeleton dressed in a Santa costume. I was like, oh, that looks fun. I'll get that as a edgy 13-year-old kid, and I remember these characters kind of introducing the story. I was like, wow, I can't believe anyone actually remembered them. But Mark Waid is going for the deep cut. So I don't know. It's as a magical conflict. I have to say it's a lot more fun than I thought it would be. And I just there's something about it that's really just working for me. I kind of anticipated the Alfred thing. I knew there was going to be some other angle to it. It wasn't going to be completely a normal resurrected Alfred with no consequences there. So it's nice to see that they're building towards that. But yeah, I don't know. It's for me it's surprisingly fun. And I think at this point if 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 Damian is going to retire from the Robin role, it probably isn't going to be here, just based on all the previews and everything we've seen, where he's still featured prominently as Robin. So my early speculation that this would lead to that was total bullshit, and I apologize. That was probably just other stuff manifesting my own fears regarding that. But this just really appears to be a story about Nez's
Thank God.
attempt at controlling the magical underworld, and sort of Batman and Alfred are trying to fight against that. And we actually do see Damian trying to fight back against Nez's control a little bit, although not quite as strongly as I'm sure he will do later. But yeah, I don't know. It just for me it was a surprising bit of fun, and I'm actually like invested in the series. So we'll see what happens next with the last three issues. So I gave this one an 8.5 out of 10, which is a lot more positive than I would have thought it would have been, or I would have been.
Oh, fair enough. I hate to kill the positivity, but I'm starting to care less about this story. I'm still enjoying it to a certain degree. It's just getting a little more telegraphed, and I was not too excited about a return to a dark side Robin or Damien yet again. The Alfred twist felt a little obvious. I think we semi called it from the beginning. There's no way they're bringing Alfred back, and if they are, what the hell are they doing? The art was nice. I enjoyed it, but at this point, I'm waiting for the end. especially after the announcement at NYCC. That's what I care about now. I just want to see where this goes, and at, it always felt like a stepping stone, but this now we definitely know is a stepping stone. So I'm just waiting. Um, there are some story beats that I'm enjoying, and the art's nice, so I still gave a 7 out of 10. But I'm struggling to really care about the story right now.
It's a Bat God story.
Yeah.
It's literally Batman versus everybody. Even the only person on his side is a bad guy.
Which is wild. The bad guy he's facing, even.
Yeah.
It's...
I will say that the one thing that I kind of had a hard time believing was that Batman of all people would not know the history of the Lazarus Pits. Like, this guy is obsessive about even the most minute of details. That he would be blind to that was a little a little questionable. But
just out of curiosity, since they're making it out of tiger penis and dad sweat, the Lazarus resins, how in the fuck do we get a planet Lazarus? I mean, that's...
I assume it's just a name. Like, it's not, and it's probably like a pun on, like, oh, if the Lazarus is going around affecting Earth, it's a Lazarus planet, like an Avengers world or something. It's just supposed to be a fun and playful name, not an actual planet of Lazarus resin.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if there, well, shit. Did you have a final point?
No, that was it. We'll see.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say if there's nothing left to be said, then we will move to our top 3 books of this week. Starting with you, Rob. What were your top 3 and a favorite moment?
Oh shit. Okay, so I kind of wrote my favorite moment as if I was going last, and I don't know why I did that. Because I had 3 choices. I was waiting to see what you guys picked first. But my top 3, I had number 3. I had Future State Gotham. I really enjoyed the series. It was up and down for me near the middle, but this last story arc I thought was a lot of fun. And the way they included the color scheme at the end, I thought was really nice to kind of show that there's a bit more peace in the world, and things are a little more safe now. And the Batman Beyond reference was always nice. Number 2, I had Son of Kal-El. That's why I had number 2. Really enjoyed this issue. Number 1, Batman Inc. Great first issue. Cannot wait to see where this goes. And favorite moments. Shit. Okay. Maps and Cast talking about Batman. I think that was the first one I wrote down. The first one I came up with. That was really nice. I really enjoyed it. That was cute.
Dude, you gotta read Gotham Academy. You're gonna love that book if you like maps.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
All right, over to you, Josh.
All right, then. My top 3 go like this. In third place, I have Urban Legends number 20. In second place, I have the Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries number 1. And first place, I have Batman Incorporated number 1. My favorite moment is going to be when I got to watch El Gaucho in his old-fashioned costume show up in the Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries. My second part was the sarcasm in Batman Incorporated, where Sunglasses Cop says, "I thought Black Mist was dead." And the blonde cop responds, "Name me a superhero who ain't died at one point or another. You ask me, I think they fake their deaths so they can take a vacation without folks blaming them for all the things that happened while they were laid back sunning their buns in the Riviera."
Honestly, I'm with that guy. That's probably what it is. All this stuff is just some cockamamie story that's not true. Where they just went on to, Tamaran or something and relaxed for like a month, and they pretended to be dead.
Read the Scooby-Doo Mysteries. They're so much better than all the rest of the books this week.
Dangerously close to Hero.
I probably will not, but I will take your word for it. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Rob?
I said we're getting dangerously close to hero-gasm territory.
Oh my God, no! Don't even say that. That's too depraved. As for me, my number 3 this week was Batgirls. At number 2, I had Batman Inc. And at number 1, the surprise upset of them all, Batman versus Robin, number 2. I don't know, it's just me, but I had a good time. But my favorite panel, because I'm just such a sucker for this costume, but it had to be Damian accepting his birthright. And ascending into the Batman 666 costume, just because I love that costume, and any tease we get of it will always put a smile on my face. So that was it for me.
Right on.
All right, well then we will segue on to
The biggest thinker.
Oh, that's nasty.
gentlemen. What were your biggest stinkers for this week, or biggest stinker? Sounds like you had a couple stinkers, to be honest.
Mine is Batman versus Robin, hands down. If I'm only going to pick one, that's it. There were a couple shitty issues this week. Batman versus Robin wasn't just shitty, it was also a major letdown.
Yeah, I was almost there, but I'm also just a sucker for not giving a shit about cinematic tie-ins, so Flash, Fastest Man Alive took my biggest stinker spot.
I don't
Oh,
think I actually
yeah.
read that.
That's bad. It's bad. Don't read it. Save yourself the
I
time.
had not planned to. Yeah. As for me, my biggest stinker, which I wouldn't say stinky by any regards, but definitely the weakest one of this week, goes to Superman Son of Kal-El 16. Again, I feel like I'm just waiting for the point where either the miniseries will explore it or something, but I don't know. I'm waiting for the end of this book so we can move on to whatever else is next, and hopefully that is important as well. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of biding my time with this book and this issue in particular. But with all that said, we are done with our reviews for this week. Thank you for listening, everyone. We will be here next week talking comics, and we dearly hope you'll stop by. Remember to go to notarobotpodcast.com for all of our episodes and our other shows with all sorts of people. Also stop by buymeacoffee.com/NAR podcast for either a one-time donation or subscription. You know the rest, but we dearly appreciate it, and we hope you will consider supporting us in any way. With that, there's only one way that we say goodbye around here. Until next time.
Be good to each other.
And don't be a robot.